The Vedic Age, rise of Aryans, Vedas and society 1500 to 600 BCE. 4,500 years ago, after the decline of the Indus Valley civilization, India witnessed the rise of a new era, one that laid the cultural, religious and societal foundation of Indian civilization. This was the Vedic Age, the time of the Aryans, of sacred hymns, of fire rituals, and the beginning of Sanskrit literature. But who were these Aryans? What secrets do the Vedas hold? How did this era transform ancient India? Let's journey back to 1500 BCE, where it all began, in the land of rivers and ritual. The Aryan migration, where did they come from? The Aryans were Indo-European speaking nomads who migrated from Central Asia, possibly around the region of modern-day Ukraine or southern Russia. They didn't invade with armies, but came in waves, settling in the northwestern parts of the Indian subcontinent. Their early home was the Sapta Sindhu, the land of the seven rivers. Rigveda, the first voice of India. The Rigveda, the oldest of the four Vedas, composed around 1500 to 1200 BCE, is not just a religious text. It is India's earliest literary treasure, a window into a world where gods walked among men and nature was revered like family. Composed in early Vedic Sanskrit, the Rigveda has over 1,000 hymns dedicated to gods like Agni, Indra, Varuna, and Soma. These hymns weren't written down, they were passed orally from guru to shishya through memorization and rhythm. Early Vedic society, simple, nomadic and tribal. The early Vedic society was pastoral. Cows were wealth, rivers were life, and families lived in janapadas, tribal groups led by a chief called the Rajya. There were no large cities, no temples, no idols, only nature, ritual and spoken word. Society was relatively simple, divided into warriors, priests, farmers and herders, but no rigid caste yet. This would come later. Vedic gods, forces of nature. The gods of the Vedas were reflections of nature. Indra, the god of thunder, was the greatest of all, destroyer of enemies and bringer of rains. Agni, the fire god, was the messenger between humans and gods. Varuna watched over cosmic law, the Rita, and punished the immoral. This was not polytheism in the modern sense. The same divine force was seen in many forms. From early to later Vedic period, 1000 to 600 BCE. Around 1000 BCE, Aryans moved eastward, clearing forests of the Ganga-Yamuna plains. Agriculture became the mainstay, iron tools were discovered, and kingdoms or janapadas began to form. The society grew in complexity. Tribal councils like Sabha and Samiti lost power to kings. The Rajan was no longer just a tribal leader, he became a monarch. Varna Ashrama Dharma, the birth of the fourfold order. This period saw the emergence of Varna system, Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras. This was not yet hereditary, but based on karma and aptitude. Over time, this structure became rigid, giving rise to the caste system that shaped Indian society for centuries. Also the idea of ashrama, 4 stages of life, brahmacharya, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyasa, took root during this era. Literature, music and knowledge, a new cultural renaissance. The Vedic period wasn't just religious, it was deeply intellectual and philosophical. The Samaveda taught music. The Yajurveda explained rituals. The Atharvaveda explored medicine, charms, and everyday life. Later Vedic texts like Brahmanas, Aranyakas, and Upanishads gave birth to ideas of Atman, Brahman, Karma, and Moksha, pillars of Indian philosophy. From tribes to kingdoms, the rise of janapadas. By 600 BCE, small tribes had evolved into powerful kingdoms called janapadas. Kuru and Panchala were the strongest early ones, laying foundations for the Mahabharata era. Cities like Kashi, Vaishali and Videha emerged as centers of politics and learning. This transition paved the way for the next grand age, the Mahajanapadas and the rise of Magadha, which we'll explore in the next episode. The Vedic Age is not just ancient history, it's the soul of Indian identity. From sacred mantras to social values, from cosmic philosophy to daily rituals. It taught us to look within, to seek truth not just in temples but in the self. And that is why the story of the Vedic period is not over. It lives on in our festivals, our language, our thoughts. If you found this journey into the Vedic age fascinating, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to Rajya, Raaj or Virasat. Hit the bell icon so you never miss the next chapter of India's glorious history. Drop your thoughts or questions in the comments.